Welcome back to the Heart Coaching, and I'm Bryce Wise. Today we're going to be diving into the connection styles, and we're going to be diving into what is the Individualist Connector. Let's find out. So this first one is the Individualist Connector. And what does that mean? Well, the Individualist Connector is somebody who connects to benefit them. They don't try and make a win-win situation, they try and make a win-lose situation. These are people that they always try and get the upper hand, they always try and get the best deal, they always try and kind of work to get it, and they don't connect for any other reason than it to benefit them. If you engage with an individual connector, you'll find yourself being used or taken advantage of to meet their needs. Now, just because I say that, you might see being taken advantage of or manipulative, doesn't mean that these people are bad. So let's go over some actual characteristics of what an individualist connector actually is. So the first thing is they are the stand them up by them bootstraps, I'll do it myself, my way or the highway type people. And they are, again, always in it for themselves. And so they pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They figure it out themselves, and they do it themselves. The next thing is these people are oftentimes can be manipulative and know how to tweak things and say things to get you interested without actually making a connection with them. Number 4, these people are people that you want, if you have a court case or if you have agreements against somebody, because if you can get them on your side, they're going to fight till no end. These are also people that, a lot of times in their childhood was probably a traumatic event or some, broken home or, some area of abuse and stuff. Now, because they've always been having to do it by themselves, and it's always and when they needed connection, they got met with abuse or disconnection. That makes it really challenging and difficult for them to actually trust people. And because it makes them challenging and difficult to trust people, it means that they're going to only trust as much as they can throw you. And so, there's so much that could cause you to be an individualist connector. Again, it goes a lot back to those family life early on, because if you have abuse, neglect, if you have anger or bitterness that is normal in your family, that could make you an individualist. Or if just your parents were no, figure it out on your own, that could make you an individualist connector. Now, you're not bad if you're an individualist connector by no means. Oftentimes we want to think of these people as the villains of the world, but really they're just deeply, deeply hurt. And it's so good to know that if you realize going into it that these people are hurt and then coming from a place of deep pain, it makes it a lot easier to actually be able to go into that protected, go into that safe, go into that knowing that, because then you can really start building a plan to make connection with these guys. And I like to think of the individualist connector as Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean. Captain Jack Sparrow doesn't really care about his crew, doesn't really care about who he hurts to get in the race. He's all about getting his ship and his gold and his stuff. And Captain Jack Sparrow is not a bad guy, but he just pushes people away because he doesn't believe he can trust them. He tries to make sure that he gets the upper hand on everything. He makes sure that he pulls himself up by the bootstraps. Nobody can catch him because he's an individualist. Individualists will often run alone because they don't really know how to connect in a deep way. And so instead of getting somebody to connect with, they often do that. So now that we've talked about the characteristics of what an individualist connector looks like, now let's talk on what they need to grow. And this is where the change really starts. And the other thing about where they need to grow, if you implement these tools as an individualist connector, you will grow out of being an individualist connector. And if you have somebody that you know is an individualist connector and you implement these tools, then you will be able to have a better, healthier connection with them and not be taken advantage of or seen as, or be pushed over. So, well, what they need to grow is the first thing they need to do is they really need to build empathy. Empathy building is so huge for the individualist connector because the individualist connector can really grow and change and start becoming a better connector if they can learn that there's somebody else besides them. If they can learn to have empathy for somebody's pain, hurts, sorrows, that will make it so much easier for them to actually be able to start growing into what they actually are called to do, and it will actually really help them grow in the area of connection because they will no longer be doing it themselves, but they will be thinking of other plans. The next thing that an individualist connector needs to grow is they need to get healing from their hurts and their pains from the childhood. Because oftentimes, again, these people are people that are, neglected, abused. These are people that had rough childhoods, didn't have a perfect life. These are people that have rough, challenging childhood. And so because of that, it leaves a lot of wounds, it leaves a lot of scars, it leaves a lot of things that make it so that you feel like you can't trust anybody else. And for you to grow as an individualist, you really need to be able to start adding and implementing these things to really be able to be a better version of yourself. Because if you can really work on getting healing on those things, work on getting that kind of stuff, they need that to grow. The next thing that an individualist needs to grow is they need to feel like they win. And it's so important to make it feel like a win-win because if you go into this connection with people and you pour your heart out and give them all, and they just push you off to the side because they're an individual. That pain and that stuff is going to affect you. And so they need to feel like they won. But you also need to feel like you can win too in that because you don't want to be the guy or gal that gets, into the, a connection with the individualist connector and then you have no value, you have no care, you have no nothing because it's always about them. You want to be the type of person that makes it a win-win for them so that they feel like they can actually trust you, that they feel they can actually grow into that connection. And you want to make sure that you are getting stuff out of it too, because in that individualist mindset, it's very easy to realize I got triggered because of this, I did this, and so it's really important to really start understanding how do you make this situation a win-win situation? At least make it not a win-lose situation. And then the last thing that the individualist needs is they need to just start building trust. And building trust is one of the hardest things because you're going to have to prove to them that it is okay for them to talk to you. It is okay for them to reach out to you. It is okay for them to engage you and do that. So you have to really show a foundation of trust that you are in it with them. You have to get in the mud with them. And I think that really helps an individualist is getting in the mud with them. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time today. Thank you for taking the time to build better, healthier connections and really just trying to improve your connections in your life. Next week, we're going to be talking about the awkward connector and what that looks like. So make sure you stay tuned for that next week. And you can find us on Facebook at The Heart Coaching. You can subscribe here on YouTube. Smash the like button. And just remember, when we connect, life gets better. See ya!